The objective of this panel is to have an open discussion on how space-based services uh, to governmental institutions could benefit from space technologies. What are the challenges that these institutions are facing in access to satellite data, access to satellite services? We'll try to discuss these questions, and also what are the innovations, solutions, and new trends that space agencies, space institutions are offering today to the community, and what kind of mechanisms of cooperation, collaboration could be developed in this context. Uh, Before giving the floor to the panelists, let me just rapidly to introduce our colleagues. Uh, Dr. Ali Amjad from Pakistan, from SOPRACO. SOPRACO is one of the most important, I think, institution in space activities in Pakistan and in the region, and they are developing a very ambitious and important program in terms of technological satellite capabilities, but also Ali Amjad has a lot and a long expertise in terms of developing applications, uses for satellite data, etc. Second participant to this panel is Amiriya Baitu from Tanzania, and she is a mapping officer at the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Human Settlement Development in Tanzania. She has a professional academic background in space technology and its applications for environmental monitoring. The third panelist is Alexander de Amorim Teixeira from Brazil, from ANA, the national agency in charge of water resource management in Brazil. And Alessandro is experienced in GIS and GIS applications at ANA, the Water National Sanitation and the Water and Sanitation Agency. And from the discussions we have during these two days, ANA has a huge expertise in terms of water management and use of geospatial data for this issue. Francesco Nemina from CONAI, Argentina, and CONAI is one of the regional institutions in space activities in the region and in Argentina. He will share with us his knowledge in the use of satellite data, satellite technology in water management. Mamadou Sango from Gambia is a senior engineering environmental analysis at the National Early Warning and Response Mechanism Coordination Center. And he has also a lot of experience working with regional institutions such as ECOWAS, for example, in climate and environmental issues. And Miriam from Salvador. So holds a bachelor degree in geophysics and a master in studies in spatial information applications. And she also, as you have seen from the presentations, with a lot of expertise in remote sensing application. And last but not least, Mrs. Sumaya Mohammed from the Egyptian Space Agency, which is one of the emerging agencies in Africa and in the world, with a very ambitious program in satellite development and satellite application. She will be shared with us the Space Agency program and Space Agency innovative projects to develop satellites and also to develop partnership with different actors in the region. So the first question to start the discussion with you, I will turn to Amjad Ali, asking him to share his experience on the integration of space data in policy making. Could you please describe how space-based data is currently in your country and your region integrated into water management policies and other environmental issues, and what are the key challenges you faces in this integration?
Thank you very much, sir, for the introduction and also giving me an opportunity to share my views and thoughts about the space technology and its application context uh, with respect to space technology and my own views about the space technology application and how to go about it. You know, when we talk about any the problems, or when we talk about any development project, so the first thing that comes to our mind is the spatial context. And beside the spatial context, nowadays with the increasing availability of data, now we have also added another dimension that is called the temporal context. So when you see something both in terms of spatial and temporal context, then you have not any other option than space technology. That's why you can see people are increasingly using, even in different part of the world, and they are resorting slowly and steadily toward the space technology and its application. So space technology is not only providing spatial temporal context of any phenomena of interest, but it can also give you a multidimensional perspective of any problem or any, projects development, or if you are planning any activity related to the space technology and its application. So if you are interested to study when, how, where, causes and effects, and or other detailed perspective of any space technology application like the water resource management, then you have not any other option than space technology. Okay. Now space technology, now to provide this data to the policymaker in your own country, that is the role now the space technology has to play. So that is a double role. Space technology has first to develop the space technology first, and then to translate it into the form of the projects and or training, so that the policymakers can have the understanding of using this data, and then they can use it actively for the benefit of the society. And on the other hand, okay, now there are certain problems that maybe most of the available participants here in this room are facing. That is, the data is very expensive. And if it is not expensive, if you have the availability of data, then you need to have a good computational power. So normally in the ministry or down to, in the application level, you can see that the most of the departments are all not very well equipped with respect to the use of the hardware and the softwares. If they even have some arrangement for the hardware, the softwares are very expensive. They are having all the proprietary context, and sometimes it is very difficult for them to cope with all these things. So that's where the space technology role has become very important, and they have to really provide the services in an ecosystem manner, so that they can readily use it for decision making and actually and ultimately help the societies. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Ali Amjad, for sharing this information. We will keep the same issue with other agencies. But let me turn to our colleague Sumaya from Egypt and ask the same question from a space agency perspective. What are the uses that you are developing actually in Egypt on this issue? How this satellite data is integrated in policy making and in policy development in Egypt?
Actually, Egyptian Space Agency try to provide certain data like image data from operational satellite, NextSat-1 and MustSat-2 that is actually in the orbit now, and try to cover all of the type of the data that space data that help the remote sensing applications in different fields, water management resources, agriculture, and many applications that use this data. Actually, we work on next missions or future missions to provide as well SAR data or IoT data for different applications to reduce the gap between the data and the applications or the people who work on these fields.
Thank you. Let's continue in this issue with our colleague from CONAI, Argentina, on what is the context actually in Argentina on the integration of space data in policy making. As a space agency, what is your lecture? What is your views on this issue?
Okay, I think that from CONAI we have three parts onto this problem. One part is gathering data that might be not readily available and make it available for the public sector, especially with some interchanges or high resolution data that might be very expensive to acquire on individual basis. So we try to centralize that. That's one of the things we do. Another one is on the development of satellites. We try to decide on advance. We have a 20 years on advance space plan on which satellites are required for the kind of needs of Argentina in mostly agriculture, but also seaside and water use. And finally, something that will go into the second question, I'm sure, but we are putting a lot of effort into building capabilities with people, training people. We have also a tiered approach to this with more general programs that reach around 1,000 to 2,000 people per year into being initiated in geospatial science, but also higher grade programs like the one the companion here has done that has already formed around 100 masters into spatial science usage of data from Argentina, but also from Latin America.
Okay, thank you. Now let us move forward from the end user's perspective, and I will ask our colleague from Gambia, Mamada Senghor, what are the challenges you are facing when it comes to capacity building, for example, the use of satellite data, given the importance of capacity building highlighted in different discussion we have during this conference, what specific training or resources do you think are needed to better equip government with this needed skills and the required competencies to an efficient and a productive use of satellite data, satellite technology?
Hello, thank you very much for having me here. I will just want to maybe give a brief highlights of the first section on how we use the space technology, then move on to the capacity building needs. The Gambia, as we know, is a developing country, and of course, there are challenges that are surmounting in terms of data availability. However, we use space-based technology in order to have data availability in terms of rainfall. Of course, we have a river that runs across the country. So space-based technology help in having river flow rate and water availability. So in capacity building needs, we are challenged with having the capacity, both technically resources and human resources as well. Because of course, space technology are accessible, but it is important to have the infrastructure in place. Infrastructure in the sense that you need strong connectivity to be able to access the data. So the need of having capacity in terms of infrastructure is there, as well as having the capacity to be able to interpret the images, to interpret the information, and also make sure that it's easy for the end users to understand. Having a very high illiterate rate in the communities that really need this data, in terms of the farmers who need the data, it is important to simplify the information that you have from this space information in terms of images and other things to make sure that they understand what you really want them to do in terms of hazards. As far as the national early So the training needs could be targeted trainings in terms of image interpretation, information gathering, as well as dissemination of those information to the end users who actually need the data, that are the communities, who are farmers, who are agriculturists in various aspects. So there is a need for training, there is a need for analyzing the data, there is a need for accessing the data, as well as having infrastructure connectivity and so on. Thank you.
Same issue, and now I will ask Maria Beto from Tanzania. What are the challenges that as better use of this data and the better use of this technology?
Thank you. As Tanzanian, in terms of technology, especially the space-based technology, has not been developed that much. Compare that the Ministry of Water and Resource Management has a Water Act, but does not work properly. In terms of space technology, it has not been stated. So the water has been divided into boards, of which boards has to, every board in terms of zones has to guide and monitor and manage the water system. Unfortunately, the inconsistency of data is the biggest challenge, and also the capabilities of the people, especially the water managers, and most likely the inconsistency of data and the data format, the cause stations of which we do based on surveying method in the ground, and compare that we are using the data that in East Africa, we have two, the WGS 84 and ACA 1960 or CLAC 1980. So the data format, most of the data does not conform each other. So we need a training, though we have started with a program under the excellence of education to educate more and more, but we need the more capabilities and to enhance and to emphasize on mostly the use of space technology. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's move to Alessandro. Brazil is one of the countries in the region and the world with a very ambitious and big programs in space activities. And also ANA is a very huge institution in space water management. And from our discussion, I learned that you are using a large amount of data and technologies coming from space for your mission. So what, from your perspective, the challenges and in terms of using this data and in terms of capacity building, and also if you can give us an overview on the needs and on the region, as you are one of the major actors in this region.
Okay, thank you. So Brazil is very large, as I said before, and we have six different ecosystems in Brazil. So it's very different. We just have to adapt and to use the best sensor, the space imaging available to process the information. But it's very large. We have a lot of data. So ultimately, we are investing in technical training for specific space technology that we just available by now. We have a postgraduate program at the agency where the specialists are able to make masters or doctors receiving the salary. That's a good thing. So we invest a lot in the employees of the agency. But yes, we are investing as well in how to transform this amount of information using machine learning, using artificial intelligence. So to get all this information, to process all this information to help water decision makers, but make it easy to understand what we have to do and to help people on it. So yes, we have a lot of challenges in Brazil to process all this information. But we are just trying to do that. As said before, for example, for monitoring, we have the Amazon region. It's very remote, so it's very expensive to make any type of monitoring. And for a remote region, it's more difficult to do something like that. And that's the reason that we have the HydroSat program, for example, where we have virtual stations that we can acquire this information. So you have to be very creative to solve all these problems that we have in Brazil for different ecosystems, very large data that we have to process. So we are just trying to deal with this huge amount of information, and as Brazil is large, we have double problem with that.
Thank you, Alessandro. Let's working on remote sensing applied to risk management. Could you share your expertise in this field, and what are the challenges you are facing, and how do you overcome these challenges in terms of capacities in terms of data?
Hello, everyone. I work in El Salvador, and my experience is about these kind of applications in the Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources. In El Salvador, we don't have a career with the, related with the space information applications. So, but for that, we have many challenges to use this kind of information. But there are another more, the most important challenges is to motivate the use of space data in different institutions, and the stakeholders don't know this kind of information. They do not understand how can they interpret the data. For that, it's not possible to use very well this information. We start to work with sensing remote images in 2022, and I will say I am the first person that work with these kind of technologies. In the ministry, we start to work with images from air observation for the flood risks, also for another kind of information like the hydro estimators for the early warning system of floods. But the big challenge is the lack of the process.
Thank you very much, sir. Again, SOPARCO, being the National Space Agency of Pakistan, has the mandate not only to develop, launch, and operate satellite, systems, but they have to also, develop the application projects, both in the socioeconomic development and the, international collaborations. So what SPARCO is actually doing, we have two programs. One is for the satellite development. In satellite development, SPARCO is having the capacity to develop their own optical satellites. And currently we are having two satellites in the space. One is having the resolution of 1 meter with a 60-kilometer swath, and the other one is having the resolution of 2.5 meter, and that is having around 20 meters swath. And 2 to 3 more satellites are coming up. Maybe in next 5 to 6 months, we'll be having another two satellites that will be having a resolution of 50 centimeter. I think that would be enough to even fulfill the requirement of Pakistani users. But that can be also offered because to the other global partners if they are interested in, and that can be used in any type of imagery, because 0.5 meter imagery, and then you can have more detailed studies of any particular phenomena of interest. And with a 60-kilometer swath with 1 meter resolution, again, can be very helpful for water resource management. Besides that, SPARCO is having a very elaborated program for space technology application. And the space technology application is having all the facets of the socioeconomic development that start from land perspective, that actually encompass food, and then water, energy, environment, and so many other things, even infrastructure monitoring. We are very actively providing support to all the ministries in different sectors. And we are not only providing them the data, but we are also providing and importing required training. And we sometimes even actually help them even to translate their policies into the systems at field level. And we even give them support for processing of the systems, and also help them to develop some tools which is particularly helpful for the Internet of Things, web GIS, data sharing, and so many other things. And we not only provide, beside that, we are also having a very elaborated program in which we are actually planning to develop, the data centers in every ministry, so that they have their own question and they can even answer at their own doorstep. So that's what we are actually doing right now.
Thank you. In the same perspective, CONAI, as I said in the beginning, is one of the big actors in space in the region. What are the programs, space programs that are in pipeline or starting today to develop new capacities in the region? Could you elaborate a little bit about the CONAI programs and projects?
Yes, I believe the biggest program we have now is SAOCOM satellite. It's a pair of L-band satellites, which were development in conjunction with the ASI, the Italian space agency that has the Cosmos Chimer constellation that is X-band. So they are in the same orbit and take data at similar times. This data is freely available to Argentina, and it can be for international agents be made available on demand by signing letters of interest with CONAI. That's the most important part, where we develop the satellites, but also the products in ground salinity. Let me translate this. Soil moisture, thank you. I'm having problem with that word. And also the data available. Looking to the future, we have two main projects. One is Sabiamar that we are developing with INPE from Brazil. It's an ocean color satellite with 800 meters global resolution, but also 200 meters resolution for coasts and inland water. So that will give us ocean color data in inland waters. That is something difficult to have. And also the Tornado project is a launcher for small satellites up to 700, 800 kilograms that we are developing and hoping to have working by 2030. Those are our main projects at this time.
Thank you. Let me go back to Egypt and ask Sumaya on the current and the coming programs that the Egyptian Space Agency is developing in terms of Earth observation. Could you please elaborate a little bit more on these projects and these programs and how they can benefit to the African region?
Actually, we have many projects for developing for the satellites. Actually, we have, as I said, we have two running satellites on the orbit now. That was launched by the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024. But this is not sufficient for to achieve the needs of Egyptian requirement or needs. So we plan to launch many missions for in the future for to achieve or to achieve the needs of Egyptian, as well as we work on many missions, international cooperation with the African countries, like ADV satellite. This ADV satellite with 5 African countries. This for development or for remote sensing to advise or to address the climate change problems, that by the way, it will be affect as well on the water resources. So we hope this satellite be launched or be starting to assemble and test in Egypt by the end of 2024. as well as the Egyptian share with or participate with Kenya and Uganda to launch a hyper camera spectral on ISS. Maybe the next year it will be launched. As well as these cameras to solve or to serve the application of remote sensing. For the other activities for this sequence, we work as well on the space training or space technology training to the students or to the different categories from the African countries, and actually we work on this program from 2 years ago to support them to develop their space technology or space subsystems as well. We work as well on space awareness in Egypt, because as we a developing country, what is a space? Why this technology take all of these from our economic resources? So we need to clarify how we can get the most benefits from this technology, and that be reflect on our economic and the different applications in Egypt.
Thank you, Sumaya. As you know, I think that the cooperation is one of the key elements and the key factors in space development from the beginning. International cooperation, international collaboration in projects, development in applications was a key success component in this process. And I would like to ask the panel to elaborate a little how, if you can share some example of successful international cooperation and partnership that has been developed in your country based on space for different uses, mainly water, and what made this cooperation successful. Let me start with Mamadou from Gambia. Could you share some example of cooperation that you have been developing in space applications, for example, in the country or in the region?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll just speak on the end user perspective. For space technology, we have what we call the agreement department or the agreement unit, which is a regional block that work together in the NSN space technology for forecasting the rainy seasons for member countries. Like the Gambia is approaching the rainy season. So these agreement member countries will come together and use space technology or space information or data to come up with a forecast for the rainy season that could serve as an early warning system or early warning component for the farmers, for the end users, for the communities. The agreement unit also use information from the EMOSAT and other Sentinel data, and also with the help of the Chima Foundation, who uses the MyDowetra platform. That is information that from different units, the GLOFAS and other data that can be harnessed and interpreted to form forecast or prediction products for the end users in those member countries. So the ECOWAS region or the West African region, few countries come together to form that particular unit or particular group, and they meet on a regular basis to make sure that analysis of those information from satellite data or satellite images are analyzed and produced for the end users for those member countries. These are examples of the ways in which space information are used in our region, as well as the Gambia as a member of those organizations or those platforms. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move to Tanzania, for example, and ask the same question. Could you please share an example of projects that have been developed in your country or in your region, and how this cooperation was established, and what are the lessons learned from this perspective?
Thank you. In Tanzania, we have launched or signed the contract under the Korean government, which is going to be sponsored by Exim Bank and World Bank for training of the people from the 1 month, 3 month bachelor and also PhD inside and outside the country. Also, we are going to establish the center for mapping Recently, this month, we have just bought an airplane for mapping and 20 drone. For start with, we are going to have an institute on that center for training in processing, in capturing, and also in piloting. So basically, the project has already begun in training and in piloting. Soon we are going to start with. It will be providing the education in all over the world. Whenever you want to feel, you will come. It is not for Tanzanians. Under the project, we are going to establish NSDI, National Spatial Data Infrastructure, which we were not there before. And the system is going to be shared by stakeholders from the NGOs or the ministries or universities. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's now move to our friend from Brazil, Alessandro. Brazil is one of the major actors in the region. And could you please share some examples of cooperation you have been developing with other actors or other space agencies on integration of this technology in your activities?
Well, related to space technology, we have cooperation together with IRD. It's a French institute. There we developed the HydroSat program in Brazil that I said before for the virtual stations that we have in Amazon, for example. Before we worked together with WestGS from United States. We worked with them with the Sparrow project as well, and with the calculation for evapotranspiration using the CBOP project. We have funding from ICA as well, from UNESCO, for some consultants for specific keys information that you just need to process some specific information and project related to it. And more recently, not only this, but for example, we are working with NASA, for example, for NASA and CNES in the SWOT mission. It's not SWAT, okay? It's SWOT. Surface, water, ocean topography. And as an early adopter in last year, for example, you went there participating in a workshop. And yes, you just need to work with everybody because you have a lot of information, have a lot of different challenges to do with it, and we can do that alone. In South America specifically, we participate in the OTCA, that's an observatory for Amazon, and it's involved, I believe that 8 countries working together with it. We have the Sique Plata, it's for the river basin, the Plata River Basin, and it's involved with around 8 countries, I think so. And for example, for the last month, we were in Foz do Iguaçu, where we participated together from people from NASA, from the Goddard Center, and the USAS as well. And they presented for us, for example, the LIS, the Land Information System. So so we have a lot of initiatives that's very interesting because, okay, everyone is trying to do their best to work with water resources management. So that's it.
Thank you. Let's go to Anne from Salvador. What, from your perspective, how international cooperation is used and how it is helping Salvador to develop capacities and to develop use of these technologies in different fields, such as risk management?
Okay, regarding to the water management and the successful of collaboration, international collaboration, I will say two examples. But this example happened after a disaster, the flood risk. One of these is post-MISH. This program started after the disaster Hurricane Mitch. And 3 countries were affected, El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras. The project was successful because the 3 countries worked together. Also, there was a partnership, agencies to aid and make fund gas funding, and are near to the 80 municipalities where benefits have benefit sorry, for this program, which many images, aerial images, and also to map these affectation areas. Another example is the collaboration with the Amerigeo with the project called SAR-CBC. This project is regarding to the training. El Salvador and Guatemala was training of the thematic of the flood risks using SAR data. This kind of project were successful in our case.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask Ali Amjad on the SUPARCO have a very ambitious and big program in space activities. How this program is benefiting from collaboration, international cooperation, and also how SUPARCO is supporting countries in the region by making available your expertise and your capacities to these countries in the region.
With special context of the space technology application, as you already said, that collaboration is very important in case of space technology because it is a highly resource intensive activity. So you cannot do it all alone. So let me give you some of the example that is a success story already in our case, and some of the example which I'm going to give is more relevant in the context of the UN entity which are always available for help. Let me give you the example of the UNFFO. UNFFO has actually helped us to develop a crop monitoring system at a country level. So with the help of that system, we are now able to even give estimates of 10 major crops for the whole country and for all the seasons. Beside that, we are now able to make even damage assessments in a very short span of time, and we always make these information available for the decision maker. Beside that, in the area of glacier research, we are actively working with China. They have their very good state-of-the-art arrangements in the name of ITP gas, and we are working very extensively with them. And every year, around 100 to 200 scientists they used to visit the northern part of Pakistan and collect data in the form of different expeditions, and it includes all type of data. Beside that, UNESCO was helpful in making a runoff, river runoff estimation for major river of Pakistan. And let me give you the example of another organization that is a regional organization, Asia Pacific Space Cooperation Organization, that is again led by China. And there are around 7 to 8 countries beside observers and some of other states. So that is also very helpful to to launch projects in areas where you can lack capacity in any area of application. Let me give you the example of the getting the technology transferred with respect to the RED+. RED+ is also very emerging field, and we have now the capacity with the help of China, Turkey. Now we can even make estimates and carbon accounting system for the whole country. And beside that, we were also able to make mangroves mapping, because that is also one of the most difficult area to map the resources and its estimation. Let me give you the example, the last, that is the disaster management, especially with the help of UN Spider, UNUSA, tentacles. They were really helpful to build our capacity to a level we are now very active member of the whole, the international community. And whenever there is any disaster, we are one of the forerunners in providing support in any capacity. So I think both, these bilateral and trilateral, or even the UN, collaboration with the UN organization is very important to raise your capacity in a specific areas, and especially high-tech areas or new emerging areas. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Francisco, you mentioned earlier that you have an ongoing project in cooperation with the Italian Space Agency. Could you elaborate a little more about this project, and also any other opportunities of cooperation that you are conducting at the moment?
Yes, with the Italian Space Agency, we got two projects going on. One, as I said before, is on a star constellation, the Cosmos Skymed one and SAOCOM one. But also we have a project that has been going on with the ASI for more than 17 years now on training the master's degree that we offer at CONAE in conjunction with Córdoba University. It's also offered in conjunction with the ASI, so it has the stay for all the students that make it in Italy for 6 months in different parts of the country to build capabilities, have more knowledge about how things are done in other parts of the world. And this program has allowed more than 10 to 15 students each year to go to Italy and do their stay there before coming back and making the master thesis. I believe it has been a quite successful program, both for Argentina and for Italy in the interchange of knowledge for us. As for future programs, we know that this program is going to continue. I don't know if there are more programs into the SAR development, but I know that the program with Brazil for Sabiamar, after a few hiccups along the way, is now picking up speed again. And that's something that sometimes happens with international cooperation, that maybe the programs get detached, but it's good when they meet again and they can continue into the future and adapt to that.
Thank you, Francisco. Before moving to last access in this discussion, I would like to open the floor to the participants. If you have any questions or any comments or any contribution to this discussion on this cooperation between the space service providers, space agencies from one side, and the end user from the other side.
Well, thank you for an interesting panel discussion. Primarily, I can see the government agencies providing, their insights into the capacity as well as their linkage with the users, as you call it. I think so. And given the fact that I see that there's a range of capacity, capability across the panel that we just heard, from those that are already launching the satellites and those that are planning to, and those that are more users of the information. So my question is, yes, Brazil is quite ahead, like you said, and providing the services to many of the countries in the region. We have Suparco in the region, plus also other agencies that are there. So in terms of the sharing between these various different agencies, the ones that are very well built in terms of their capacity, to those that are just more like at a primary level in terms of users, how is that balanced in terms of sharing of the knowledge and taking that further? And also at the user level, there seems to be still a lot of gaps. I'm seeing that there's a lot of projects that are being launched here by the respective agencies, but how does it really, link to the users is a little bit, I felt, not very clearly stated. So if you have further examples of that, that would be good to hear.
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. In our case, for example, we have the space agency, Brazilian space agency, and we have the National Institute of Research for Space. It's the INPE that works together with CONAE. One interesting thing that a few years ago, for example, they are planning the future satellites, for example, and they asked Anna, for example, we are interested in to launch a satellite specific with applications for water. What do you need? So you need water surface elevation, you need a sensor to identify the bodies. What's your real need that you that you would like that one should be on a sensor in a satellite. So we just bring all this information, we make some meetings inside of the agents, and we read all and we listen all the departments to take all this information and take it back to the space agents and the INPE as well for planning. So I think that it's a good thing to know what's the real users need to what they think that the users need. I think it's a big gap and a big difference.
I can add a little bit into that because I'm on the other side, but the methodology in Argentina is similar. When we are planning a 15-year plan, we start by asking other ministries, agencies, private sector, and ONGs on, okay, which are the data gaps you are detecting? It's like, okay, we have this visible data, optic data, but we are lacking here. So we try to be looking forward, looking at the gaps and ask it in each agency, which are the requirements. Sometimes it's difficult because sometimes the actors don't, you need to work with them to know what they need. Yes, it's not as easy as asking, okay, what do you need? But it's an ongoing process of you tell me you need this, and then I ask again and I ask again. And there is a lot of learning there, both for us as the space agency, but also for the public sector and the stakeholders on what they really need from space data and not what they think they need maybe at the start of this process.
We as well in Egypt, we know the Egyptian Space Agency is a newborn because the agency it was established 2018. So we find a lot of sectors in Egypt, they don't know how can use this space technology to improve or to solve the problems that you find in their applications. So what we try to do make a certain a group of work, and this group of work make like awareness sessions in different ministries and different entities that willing with the using of the remote sensing or with the space data. And as well, we try to communicate between the expertise in these areas and the new users in for the technology to reduce these gaps that you mentioned. And I hope we can do that.
Someone else would like to add some comments on these questions, unless we can also have a second question from the audience. Yes, please.
Thank you so much, our panelists. That was a very fruitful discussion. So I have a question for Sumaya. She mentioned they're partnering with Rwanda and Kenya to launch some satellite data. Some satellite mission. So is these missions gonna be tailored just for the 3 countries, or is just for the entire Africa? And because the Egyptian Space Agency is an emerging space agency, and of course, some countries in Africa are still behind. So do you have plans to also like build capacities to other countries such as Eswatini? Harriet did a very good presentation on Eswatini and the data challenges they have. I've been working on a project in Somalia. So do you have plans to build capacities to those countries that are still behind so that we move together as a continent? Thank you.
Actually, the project of with the Kenya and Rwanda is this is a hyperspectral camera. This camera, it will be hosted on ISS station, and this it should be serve many countries in Africa. As well as the program of space training of African countries, it is running and it's not stopped. This program is launched from 2 years ago, and it will continue. For the next mission in Egypt, it not serve any Egypt only. It will serve most of the countries in Africa and Middle East as well. You know as well, Egypt hosted the African Space Agency in Egyptian Space City in Cairo. So I think this will make more collaboration between the countries in Africa.
Any other question from the audience? So maybe the last component of our discussion in this panel, I would like to ask the perspective of the end users on looking toward the future. And based on your experience, based on your use of satellite data, what are the most expectation do you have in terms of data precision, data availability, new maybe mechanisms or new innovative technologies that could support you in your. So let's dream a little bit and ask each one of you, which kind of expectation do you have in the future that will support you to accomplish your mission and to continue using and integrating satellite data in your projects?
Regarding to the future developments, I will talk about the management water application. For example, flood risks, water quality, and also for the forecasting of the floods. Regarding to the flood risk, if you ask me what kind of data I need, I will say SAR images. Now we have just one satellite from Copernicus working because Sentinel-1B is not working now. For that, before we had every 6-year images, but now we have at least 2 or 3 per month. But when a flood occurred, probably we don't have images. Another mission that I would like to use is the NISAR. NASA have a mission in process, is NISAR. These images are L-band, will be L-band. This is really will be useful for us because when C-band, we can only map the areas that are covered completely by water. But what happens if we have vegetation with water? We cannot map in these areas. But with the L-band, we can map in this area because the L-band can penetrate this kind of vegetation. But I want to, because I want a lot of images to work. One of these, the hyperspectral images. I would like to use hyperspectral images with high resolution in the water bodies because we have at least 7 big lakes. And every lake have algal blooms, change the color. Also, we have a famous Caldera Lake. This lake changes the color every year. The color is turquoise, but it's not a cyanobacteria. It's another process that they generate this change the color. We need to know how can improve on monitoring this kind of activity in the water bodies. Thank you.
We'll ask our colleague from Tanzania as a mapping institution and based on your needs and your projects for the moment, which kind of innovations are you expecting from the space sector that will help you to accomplish your mission and also to deliver products and services to the community of users?
Thank you. In the context of the latest image, I think it will be much better. But also, I would like to thank then Survey Africa we normally use the center from Nairobi, the MODIS data. So if it can be modified, if there are sometimes it does not work, if it can be operated continuously, so as we have the latest data for mapping, it will improve a lot, especially in groundwater monitoring, irrigation schemes, and early warning systems. Thank you.
Yes, Alessandro, will keep the micro with you and ask you. Anna is one of the big actors in the water sector and also one of the big users of geospatial information in general. What are your expectations? What are the innovations you would like to see in satellite data and satellite technology in the future that could help you to fulfill your mission?
Okay. As we discussed here, we have a lot of sensors, a lot of satellites. So I think that what's beginning to appear are platforms, are frameworks that are using to gather all these sensors in just one place, you know. NASA has an initiative, the name is Opera, for example, for water body, and they use different sensors, for example, to measure the width of these rivers and the size and the area of waters, for example, water body. Né? But it's interesting because the resolution that they are making available this information is each 3 days, because they are using a constellation of other satellites and sensors. So freshwater ecosystem explorer, for example, it's very interesting. We participate, Anna, with SDG 6 specifically, and for 6.6.1, they send out this information asking if we evaluate that information for surface area. And it's very interesting. So we are very excited to help them, for example, for calibrating, because it's for global, but for calibrating this for Brazil, it's going to be great. So something that we are looking for it. And the other thing is about SWOT. It's a game changer. If you don't know SWOT, I really recommend that if you work with water resources, take a look in the SWOT mission, because it's going to be a game changer. It's a scientific mission, and it's not operational, but it starts, an operation mission starts with a scientific mission. So take a look. It's a very interesting project. We are very excited about it.
Thank you, Alessandro. Let me ask Mamadou Senghor from Gambia, and from the perspective of the agreement, which is one of the important institutions using satellite data for meteorology and water resource management in the region. So from your perspective, what are your expectations and for future missions or for future data that could support you on a national level, regional level to accomplish your mission?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the first thing that I will expect or that I anticipate in space-based technology is the cost effectiveness, because we know high resolution data, comes with a cost. So it is important that we have cost-effective solutions that could help small states or developing countries to be able to have access to data at a very minimal cost, or even probably be able to have the resources or the means to be able to have access to that data. Secondly, data sharing platforms that are interoperable, because we leverage on space-based technology of various platforms. So it is important to have an integrated way of having interoperable platforms or systems that we can use and merge them together to be able to have quality or good data for our use. And finally, government and policies. It's important that the space society or the space-based technologies to work with government to be able to, for government to leverage the data or information from space technologies in order to have evidence-based strategies or policies that can help their decision making. I think these are very important things that I really anticipate for as a government officials or as an agency that works with government and regional institutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mamadou. The organizers tell me that we have 2 more minutes for discussion. So I'd like to give the floor to each one of you rapidly in few words. What is your main takeaway from this discussion and from the presentations and the discussion in the other session that you could share with the audience? Let's start with Francisco.
I think that my main takeaway is that in the global south, lots of things are happening, lots of interesting things. And at least that's a problem in Argentina. We look a lot to Europe, look a lot to the United States, but seeing this happening in all these countries in America, in Africa, in Asia, for me, it looks very promising for the future.
Mamadou?
The key takeaway for me is that I get to know that there are a lot of information that we can use as a country, not necessarily available in country, but we can leverage from space technology. Like on my research on drought, I had challenges in accessing soil moisture information or data. So I get to know that you can access soil moisture data from satellite imagery and other things that can use in further research. So the other thing I want to leverage on is the use of space technology in our river basin management plans. So it is important to put in or integrate space technology in our plan as governments, as institutions in working towards sustainable development goals achievement. Thank you.
I think for me, the most important thing is that, this particular activity has actually contributed towards the capacity building, because most of the people have now come to know which particular aspect has been already tried in other country, and that particular person can also help him in, starting such type of activities in his own country. And another thing is the internet of people. Like Internet of Things is so much important these days. So Internet of People is another important aspect which is fulfilled by this conference. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Sandro?
First of all, I think that, for example, events like this one, that you can bring a lot of different realities. It's very interesting to know how to deal with it, because water resource management is very hard to deal. So in Brazil, we have boundaries with all the countries except for Chile. So we cannot talk about water resources management without thinking integration with all other countries. At the same time, that we can integrate not only in the policy, but the technology as well. So keep making another events like this one, because it's very interesting to change this experience that we changed here in this event.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this event. Probably I've had enough already from the Brazilian mission, from Argentina mission, from Egypt mission. Compare that the space data is very critical. So now I know where to go. We will keep in touch in terms of technology, in terms of experience, in order to accomplish our mission. Thank you.
For me, I hope we can make a more collaboration with our region, in our regions, especially in the African countries and Middle East, to leverage the space, the benefits from the space technology that, by the way, will reflect on our economic and improve the lifestyle and let the people know how they use their resources and get the most benefit from these resources as well.
I'm really happy to be here. This is my first time in a conference like this. And I'm really happy because this is the moment when I talk about images and process and floods. In my country, it's not possible. So, but now I want to invite all of you to continue to working in this, using these images, this process, these technologies, but not work alone. Work together, maybe in the regional way, all Africa, all countries, or Asian countries, and Latin American countries, because not all countries have the same information. For example, in Central America, we don't have a special satellite or missions to monitoring our countries. We need the information in the other countries, but we can work together. We have the same problems. the same hurricanes, the same effects. So I want to invite you to work together, and this is the moment that we can share the knowledge that we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for your contribution and for sharing your experience, your insight in this field. I think that from the discussion, it's clear that capacity building is one of the important issues, and also access to data is critical in the field of water resource management and environmental resource management in general. But also we have to notice that there is a lot of emerging capacities in the South from different projects in Argentina, in Pakistan, in Egypt, in Brazil. And this cooperation South-South also is a very powerful tool that could support these countries to develop indigenous capacities and national capacities in this field. Also, I am very happy to learn that, to hear from you, that this kind of gathering is important in terms of bringing all actors together, giving the opportunity to share experiences, to learn from each other, and also to trigger some projects of cooperation projects on a bilateral, multilateral levels. So I think this is an important process that we as UNUS are trying to implement and trying to support, to create to convene actors so we can offer the possibility of discussion, the possibility of cooperation, and the possibility of partnership with different actors. Once again, thank you all for your contribution to this important discussion, and I hope that we will see some initiative emerging from this discussion from the South-South cooperation in the future. I would like also to thank the audience for your participation and for your questions, and let's go for lunch and see you in this afternoon.